The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, I'm Commander-in-Chief Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So I was supposed to be doing a podcast tonight. And a couple of factors swayed my decision. One, my son, helping him with his homework. It was a rough one tonight, but we learned a lesson on perseverance in overcoming adversity. Ties into tonight's Commander's Log episode very well. So that took a lot longer than expected. And then as soon as I got off the show earlier with you guys, shout out to my girl, Miss P. She hit me up in the DMs and let me know that there was a new Commander's Log dropping tonight. Makes sense. Part 1 was last Tuesday. So only fitting that they drop episode 2 tonight. And they gave us another movie. We expected that. 44 minutes of pure, unadulterated fire. GMF. For those of you who know, no. GMF was indeed on display tonight. And man, before I get to Commander's Log episode number 2, season 4, I don't know how I missed this, but I saw Jacob Martin's press conference. I don't know how that one escaped me, but saw him talking to the media, which happened, I think, a couple of days ago, 2-3 days ago. Interesting dude. And he said in his press conference, this is the first offseason that he's been truly healthy in like 2 years. I mean, that doesn't mean anything necessarily because the production is what it's been. However, Dante Fowler Jr. just turned the clock back here last year. Why can't Jacob Martin turn in a career year here this year, right? I mean, that's what you got to hope. Obviously, they're not done with edge rusher. I assume they're going to go get us one in the draft. I have no reason not to think that they're going to do that. I already told you guys they have a plan, right? How they go about executing that plan, we may not see eye to eye, but that's nor here nor there. As long as they have a plan and they know what it is and they're going to go out and execute it, by all means, knock yourself out. We'll be sitting here waiting to see the results, right? But it'd be nice if Jacob Martin could come in here and get us a career high 7 or 8 sacks. That'd be great. We could definitely use it, right? Anyway, we talked episode 1 of the Commander's Log last week. It was glorious. And like I said, I don't know why it is I can't get enough of this. You know, look, I've watched everything that you can possibly watch with this season, including the NFC Championship game in which we got mollywopped 55-23. I've watched that game at least 7 times. So I've relived every moment from 2024's incredible run a gajillion times, and yet every time they repackage it and ship it out to me in the form of one of these Commander's Logs or a mic'd up or anything of the sort, Jaden Daniels' rookie season, however they package it back up and ship it back out to me again, I can't get enough. And so we knew what episode 2 of season 4 was going to be. It was going to be the continuation of episode 1. They left off at the loss versus Dallas in week number 12. So we knew we were going to pick right up from the win against Tennessee heading into the bye in week 13, which is where this thing picked up. And I said this to you guys, I don't know, 25 times this year. I said, you will never experience another season quite like this one. And look, winning a Super Bowl is the only thing that can trump this season. And even when that occurs, I'm telling you, it's going to feel different than this year. Because whenever that Super Bowl comes, because it's coming, whenever we hoist that Lombardi, whenever this team gives us that parade, it will come with expectation. We will have expected to win. There will be no, oh my God, I'm so happy to be here. I can't believe, watching this Commander's log and, hearing the players talk about the fans and, this place is alive again. This fan base is alive again. Every guy that has come into the building this offseason that's signed here, whether it's a guy that was here last year that was a part of this magical run, or someone coming from the outside looking to come in and try to help us get back to that spot and get over the hump, it's the same message. It's somewhere that they want to be. It's a place that the juice is there. The energy is undescribable, and they want to be a part of it. I was listening to Nick Bellore today talk about how he had the most fun. This guy's 35 years old. Nick Bellore is 35 years old. Signed a 2-year deal here. He said he wants his kid to remember that he played in the NFL, which is why it was important for him to get a 2-year deal. Because he's like, 10 years from now, he'll never believe I played in the NFL if I don't have proof. If I can't give him memories that he won't forget. Just want to last long enough so he can remember my dad actually played in the NFL. But Nick Bellore has been in the league over a decade now. And he said this past season was the most fun he's ever had playing football. He's not the only guy to say that. Sam Cosmi said that. Other guys have said the exact same thing. It's the most fun they've ever had playing football. And when you watch Commander's Logs episode or Commander's Log episodes 1 and 2 of season 4, you see that. You see it. You see guys having fun and genuinely enjoying each other's company, playing for one another. Those locker room post-game victory celebrations never get old to watch. Bobby Wagner walking in after the Tampa Bay game when they, serenaded him with all that love, and he ducks down and he's got his hands over his head and they're just mobbing him. That never gets old. I've seen it a million times. I couldn't sleep after that Tampa Bay game when we won. I couldn't sleep. We had to, for those of you who were in attendance, shout out to everybody that was in attendance. The watch party we had up in Richmond. We were live after that. Like, we celebrated like we had just won the Super Bowl when we won that playoff game. Jumping up and down, you know what I'm saying? The DJ was playing music. We were dancing. You couldn't tell us nothing. The night was ours. We stayed after the win for an additional 2-3 hours celebrating. I was live for another 2 hours or whatever it was. It was a night to remember. We left the venue, went to the hotel, and I couldn't sleep. I rewatched the TV copy because you couldn't hear it. We were so loud. in the venue at the watch party, you couldn't hear, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, their call of the game. So like a nerd, I went home and rewatched the 3-hour TV copy. I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. Adrenaline was just flowing. I couldn't sleep. Rewatching the Commander's log brings back all of those warm and fuzzies that came along with that ride. The only thing that was missing from that season was the Super Bowl. And you couldn't tell us after we beat Detroit that we weren't a team of destiny. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's go back to the beginning of episode 2 of season 4's Commander's Log. And it starts with Jaden Daniels talking about the season, the city, and what this past season meant. And then it goes to another guy that's a captain in a voice that resonates within that locker room, in Jeremy Reeves. And he talked about this team and how it came together. And then they go to that week 13 game, and it's Bobby Wagner talking to the media. That was, to me, one of the turning points of the season. As a fan that has been through all the ups and downs, talking to a lot of fans who still suffer from PTSD with this team, that 3-game losing streak shook us to the core. And I say us because I, too, was shaken to my core after the 3-game losing streak. We had just lost to Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. And I was genuinely afraid of the Tennessee Titans coming in here. Because if we just played the way we played against Dallas the week prior, and we're running on fumes. Remember, we hadn't had our bye week yet. I didn't know how much we had left in the tank to get us to the bye week. Titans played well. Remember, the Titans had went to Houston the week before and won. So, yeah. See, a lot of these tidbits and these emotions, you don't remember a lot of this stuff. You don't remember where your mind was, where your head was. You don't remember all of the different things that surrounded the game, right? Context is important. The Titans had just went to Houston the week before, put up damn near 40 and won. And here we are losing to a lowly Cowboys team who hadn't won in like a month and a half, was riding like a 5-game losing streak. I think they were 3-7 at the time. And here we are, playing one of our worst games of the season. You damn right I was afraid of the Titans. And I remember like it was yesterday. We were on the way back from my parents' house driving up. And we got stuck in traffic. Y'all know 95, man. 95 ain't shit. For those of you who know, right? 95 ain't shit. And so we left in plenty enough time for us to get home, for me to comfortably be in front of my television before the kickoff got underway. And somehow I'm in my car 6 minutes into the first quarter. But I'm watching it. Good thing I had YouTube TV. So I'm watching the shit in my car. And damn, if, by the time we got home, the score wasn't 14-0. And I'm in the house and I can't believe it, right? Like, the B-Rob touchdown, and, you force a turnover, then you force another turnover, and you're just like, wait, who are these masked men, right? And that Bobby Wagner speech, you could argue, one of the seminal moments of the season. It's one of the defining moments of this season because, again, the PTSD started to really show itself. This fan base that was beside itself after starting the season 7-2, something I had asked for many of years. I've asked this team to start the season fast. You know how many years we start slow, then get hot, right? But then a losing streak comes, and because you started the season off so slow, it really negates that win streak you go on. That was the Rivera streak we would always talk about. We'd start the season off 2-5, then we'd win 4 in a row. You're 6-5, and then you lose 3 or 4 in a row, and boom, just like that, your season's done, right? Well, if you start 7-2 and then you lose 3 straight, well, you're still 7-5. You're still in a really good position as long as you can turn it back up. And that's why it's important to start fast. Give yourself a little bit of cushion and leeway. And boy, did we need it. And Wagner gave the passionate speech to the team, and he gave some rendition of that to the media where he said, this isn't a good team, it's a great team. And I know everybody's giving up on the team, but not those guys in the locker room. We believe and we know. And, you know, the narrative is going to change. Y'all come back and talk to me in 4 weeks or however many games we got left. Y'all be saying different stuff then. Damn if he wasn't right. And then we went out, we jumped all over the Tennessee Titans. And I remember B-Rob's first carry, boom, touchdown. Mikey Sainristil stripping the ball away from Tony Pollard, boom, touchdown to Terry. Ensuing kickoff, I want to say it was a fumble, recovered, another touchdown. And just like that, it's 21-0 in the first quarter. And you're like, whoa, like this is really happening. Terry scores another touchdown and it's 28-0. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And obviously we go on to win that game. And then you go to the bye week, you're feeling good. Boy, did we need that. They come off the bye and they in the commander's log, DQ is talking about how, you know, you got to go through this type of adversity to get where you ultimately want to be. But he told the team, just because you can win in these close moments doesn't mean you have to, right? Because we seem to have a flair, or this team at least seemed to have a flair for the dramatics, right? Sure enough, I don't know if there was a more Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde game all season long than the Saints game. That game was so maddening, and like it was one of those games that you felt weird afterwards, right? A lot of the fans, I remember this like it was yesterday, you know, doing the post-game show. A lot of the fans were pissed. You would have thought we lost the game. And I had to tell them, like, guys, we won. I get it. There were a lot of missed opportunities, and we let Spencer Rattler come in and, you know, light us up and yada, yada, yada. And, you know, you had the missed opportunities with Terry and Jaden on the deep ball. And we let them hang in there, and they almost stole it from us. But they didn't. And I kept telling people, look, we won. Relax. Like, I know it wasn't the prettiest of victories, but that's the NFL, man. Don't apologize for getting a win. Yes, the Saints stink. I don't care that it was a 1-point victory. It was a victory. That's all you need to know and all you need to care about. And so a lot of fans weren't, you know, thrilled, but it was a win, and it kept the most important thing was it kept the momentum going because we needed it. That next week was Philadelphia, and you know, they showed the Mikey Sainristil. It's crazy because watching the Commanders log and then seeing some of the players that they brought back, it's cool. And then seeing some of the guys that aren't here, like OZ, who played such a big role, and especially in the Week 16 win against Philadelphia. Maybe Jamison Crowder won't be back. He was huge in that game as well. He had a nice catch against the Saints too. Did Jamison Crowder on the 3rd down. You know, but no, Igbinoghene had the pass breakup on that 2-point conversion. And, you know, listening to him, he spoke today too at his press conference just to kind of tie everything in. And he was like, I played the most snaps I've ever played in my NFL career last year. And he said, I learned so much from playing. And we watched Noah Igbinoghene sort of come of age last year. You know, from early in the season when he couldn't cover. I mean, who was the guy that beat him in the slot against the Giants in week 2? I can't remember who it was. Cooked him in the slot, though. It wasn't Malik Neighbors either. But got wide open and scored a touchdown. Oh, your boy, Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Cooked him. Got open, scored a touchdown. No, you know what? That wasn't on him. That was actually on Mikey Samerstill. That was on Mikey Samerstill. But he had his fair share of struggles in that week 2 game against the Giants. Everybody did with Malik Neighbors. But he was kind of thrusted into the game after they had to bench Michael Davis. And then to kind of just see the progression from there and see him grow and see him get better and better and better. And he became a guy we could trust. And then seeing him celebrate on Commander's Log there at the end of that game, making that PBU on that 2-point conversion. And it's just cool to see some of those guys that are going to be back, you know, and how they were such huge parts of, and everybody played a role last year. Spectacular. But you go to that Eagles game, and you know, Jaden's birthday is that week, and they showed Mikey Samerstill bringing him the little birthday cupcake. And, you know, you hear guys like Frankie Louvu talk about, you know, really wanting that game. And then I thought one of the best speeches Terry McLaurin has ever given out was prior to that second Eagles game. You know, that was the "Be Who You Say You Are" speech, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, he had some epic ones. The one, you know, before the Lions game where he said, I don't know what they're going to say about you, but I know what they're going to say about me. And then what was so dope, we'll get to that when we get to the Lions game. So, you know, Terry makes that crazy speech. And I mean, I've listened to that speech a couple of times because that's as explicit up until that point I had ever heard Terry McLaurin. You know, we've all, I think most of us have heard the raw and uncut version of that speech. Where he was really like, yo, the Eagles, sick and tired of hearing about them and this shit go through them, F them, it's about us. That shit got me. Like, my shit was beaten. Like, I was ready to run through a goddamn wall. And, you know, to see how that game went with all the damn turnovers and all the mistakes we made, to persevere, to put yourself in that position, Frankie getting that pick to really give us life, OZ making plays, Crowder making plays, Terry making plays. But a lot of people forget in that game, Jaden, that's a 4th and 11. The game's over if you don't convert that. I think the score was 17-7 at that time. It's over. It's 27, excuse me, 27-14, I believe, is what the score was at that time. 27-14, if I'm not mistaken. Game's over. You don't convert that 4th and 11. Game's done. And Jaden, cool, calm, and collected, runs for, you know, 29 yards, I believe it was. Almost breaks it all for a touchdown and keeps not only the drive alive, but the game alive. And then we know what kind of a fourth quarter it was. It was a wacky fourth quarter, one in which we scored 22 points. The last of which coming on the touchdown to Crowder, the 2-point conversion, Jeremy McNichols. We come back, we beat the Eagles. in a wild one, 36-33. And it was at that moment, I think most of us as fans felt like, why not us, right? Like, we had been saying that, but a lot of fans were just saying it because it felt good. They didn't mean it. I think it was at that moment where a lot of fans were like, why not us? That was a big one, right? That was a big one. And you saw how happy they were in the locker room, right? And one of the things I loved about this Commander's Log, these Commander Log episodes, is we got the extended cut versions of these locker room speeches. Like, they always give us like a minute or so that they'll throw up on social media after the game, and we live for those, right? After a victory, where it's Terry or it's DQ breaking the team down, or like it was Cliff in Arizona when they gave Cliff. Normally it's them giving out the game balls, and it's like a minute long. But we got the extendo clip version of Terry. Pretty much his whole entire speech addressing the team after the Titans game, right? And then you get the DQ speech. We've seen that one a million times about, hey, now we some heavy hitters, right? After the Eagles game. And I don't know if I've ever seen the locker room as amped as it was when we beat Philadelphia. Joe Witt Jr. looked like he was out of his mind. Go back and watch that. Joe Witt Jr. doesn't even look like he's in his body, right? Eyes, pupils are dilated. He's like this. He's charged up. You got the assistant D-line coach, Sharif Floyd, going nuts. Like, it was a madhouse in that locker room after we beat Philadelphia. The only game in the regular season that I think could even compare to that was the Hail Mary game against the Bears. But I think there was a sense of, hey, we just living right with that one. Even though you could say the same thing, you turn it over 5 times, you're not supposed to beat a team the quality of the Philadelphia Eagles. But we had to go take that. That wasn't some fluky 60-yard throw that, just happened to land in the hands of Noah Brown. This was a methodical touchdown march at the end with an exclamation point touchdown pass and 2-point conversion to put the dagger in their hearts. Like, we did that. So that locker room, was crazy after that game. It was fun watching that all over again, seeing the excitement of those guys. DQ, and then Terry gives him the game ball and says, hey, hold on, because DQ had already broke him down. And we some heavy hitters now. That's the day. I'm telling you, that was when the fans started to believe it. And I think that's when the team really started to believe, when they came back and beat Philadelphia, because at that point, DQ even said, hey, we some heavy hitters now. Like, he hadn't told them that they were heavy hitters. He said, we trying to become heavy hitters. They grew of age that game. And Terry's like, no, turn that music off. Hold on. For the first time in franchise history, a head coach has won 10 games in their first season, gave the game ball to DQ. Everybody goes nuts. Then DQ breaks them down again. They go crazy. And I was like, yeah, those are my guys, man. Those are my guys, bro. You go to the next week and you can see everything. It was like everything was building towards that last home game. In my warped mind, I was hoping somehow, some way, we could manage to get another home game. We were going to need the Packers' help, obviously. They would have had to advance to the NFC Championship for that to happen. However, all of those events, barely escaping New Orleans, coming back and beating Philadelphia, destroying Tennessee the last time we were at home. Well, we were at home the week before, but all of those events led up to that Sunday night game with a chance to clinch in week 17 versus Atlanta. And you listen to Mike Tirico say this place is alive for the first time in over, 15 years. This place is alive. And I remember like Rio and Ed, they were at that game just talking about the environment, how electric it was. And I remember telling anybody that would listen, I remember after that game that night, I was live and I said, I could feel it through the television. Like it's rare watching a home game for us where you can feel the energy and excitement of the fan base. And, that was the perfect opponent. Remember, that was not a scheduled Sunday night game. It was one of those late season TBD games. And we were one of 5 games that could have been flexed into that. And I told y'all 3 weeks prior, I said, they're going to flex that Atlanta Falcons game into the Sunday night window. And as a matter of fact, I did a video maybe 2-3 days before they flexed it. And I did a video and I said, they're going to flex the game. And then they flexed it. It was the perfect opponent because the Falcons do not travel, right? So it's the perfect setup for our fans to show up and show out, be loud, and the stadium be filled with burgundy and gold. It was the perfect opponent. And boy, did they show up and show out or what. And, in the commander's log, and we saw this, I forget who was Jaden Daniels was mic'd up that week. And he was on the bench like, yo, it's low-key rocking in here. Like the stadium was crazy. And Tressway after the game, and they played it in the Commander's Log episode, was like, that was the most electric environment I've ever been a part of here in Washington at home. And it's not close. And you could feel it. You could sense it, and they delivered. It wasn't the greatest start to the game. Well, it was actually a really great start. Quan Martin getting the pick. I actually had forgotten that it was him. I knew that Michael Penix had threw a pick to start that game. But I had forgotten who he threw the pick to. It was Quan Martin. We got off to that fast start, but the defense was awful that night. Or, no, I said it right. The defense was awful that night. They were up 17-7, and Jaden had a bad interception that he threw to Caden Ellis that killed a drive. We couldn't get out of our own way. We had stupid penalties. We were really trying to beat ourselves that night. But, second half, and that's the crazy part. It was like a role reversal for us because in the first half of the season, we were great first half teams. We were a great first half team. We struggled to close games, right? In the latter half of the season, we were, sort of iffy in the first half, but we were dominant in the second half of games, particularly the fourth quarter, which if you asked me which would I choose, if I had a choice of what I would want this team, when I would want this team playing their best football, I'd tell you the fourth quarter. Give me that every time. It's going to give us a chance to win because you got one of the best quarterbacks in clutch situations on your team. You're going to have a chance to win most games if you're close and you put the ball in the hands of number 5. And sure enough, we had opportunities to put that game away. We couldn't do it. I mean, them showing the snap that went through Bijan Robinson's hands and a 22-yard loss. And This shit is just amazing when you think about what had to then transpire for them to even tie the game up. They had 3rd and goal. This was 3rd and goal. They could not get a first down. It was 3rd and goal from the 28-yard line. You can't make this shit up. It was 3rd and goal from the 28-yard line. And they give up a 14, 15-yard pass. And all of a sudden, it's 4th and goal from like the 12 or 13. And he drops back, and somehow they allow Kyle Pitts to get in between two. I told you our zone coverage stinks. And I just remember Jeremy Reeves like diving over the top of him after he caught the ball. And I'm like, you gotta be effing kidding me. I hate this defense. I remember saying that to my son. Like he's sitting on the couch next to me, and I look at him like, I hate this defense. But I was still chilling because I'm like, we got 5. And it was like 1:19 left. We're gonna go win the game. And if OZ doesn't drop that pass, I fully expect us to do exactly that. Instead, he drops that pass on 2nd down. Jaden gets sacked on 3rd down, trying to make something happen. The Falcons get the football back. And luckily, they didn't have their real kicker, Younghoe Koo, or we would have lost the game. Because he would have made that bitch from 58. The guy they had, Riley Patterson, doesn't have the leg. And I knew it. And I was calm, cool, and collected. Because I knew that thing was going to end up being short. And it did end up being short. You go to overtime. And a guy that I just talked about, who is back here on a 2-year deal, was out there. I didn't realize they had sent him out there, Nick Ballore, for the coin toss for overtime. Won the toss. We got the football. The rest is history. And seeing the fans after that game on the Commander's log going nuts. We're going to the playoffs. That was all of us. Watching those fans lose their shit after the game as they're departing. Seeing the players excited. Seeing Sam Cosmi go nuts. I remember when he got hurt against Detroit, I was like, we got to win this for Sam. Sam Cosmi epitomizes all of us as a player. Terry does as well. Those guys that have been here, that have seen a lot, that have been through a lot, who want to win badly for us as well. Seeing those guys run around the field, Jaden take the marker, write W, throw it up in the air, we're going to the playoffs. All of that shit is still fresh in my mind. And then watching it again, it never gets old, right? Again, this is why I've said to you a million times, you'll never feel this way again. I promise you, we could win the Super Bowl, and obviously the Super Bowl would trump any of this because winning the Super Bowl is the ultimate goal. But I'm telling you, the journey, there will never be another journey like this. You just can't make the shit up that happened. You won't get another Hail Mary. You won't get all the last second victories like we had in this season. The first cents, right? We had about 12 of those this year, or this past year, rather. You won't get that again. You don't get the first cents again. 91, 05. First in franchise history, DQ with 10 wins, ended up with 12. You can't do that again. You only get to do that once. That clinched the playoff berth, and I remember I was more relieved than I was excited. Again, I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I was thinking like, I don't want to have to go to Dallas next week with the playoffs on the line. You saw how tough that game ended up being. I think part of that too, though, was us sleepwalking because we knew we were already in. And I remember guys like OZ saying after the game that, you know, guys weren't necessarily locked in the way that they needed to be because we knew we were already in. Where we were going, what seed we were, they wanted to win. They wanted to keep the momentum. Terry said, no, we had to win that game. And he was right. Just seeing how the rest of the season played out, we had to beat Dallas. But there were some guys in that locker room who were okay with, hey, we already in. Don't worry about it, right? You win that game, you're in, and you go into that Dallas game, and you want to put that exclamation point on the season. We had already won 11 games, first time since 91. You already felt good. But 12 sounds better than 11. You don't want to get swept by the Cowboys, especially with them not having Dak Prescott. You already had one bad loss to them. You really don't want to have a second. There was a lot of things. Terry was chasing the record. A lot of things that were still hanging in the balance. And for them to take care of business the way that they did, it again, in walk-off fashion almost again, was crazy. With Mariota this time delivering the fireworks at the end. What a cool, photo. I don't know, most of you have seen it, of the Cowboys safety. I want to say it was Malik Hooker with his hand in the air like this, like thinking that they stopped us on fourth down. And here comes Mariota, racing through the hole and, almost scoring a touchdown on that play. And when Mariota throws a touchdown pass to Terry scores the touchdown, breaks the record. I jumped out of my seat and I was so happy for Terry, right? Because we wanted it so bad for him. I liken it to, now obviously this is not apples to apples. This is like apples to mangoes, right? Like this is a totally different thing, but I liken it to me getting excited for Terry when he got to 1,000 yards in 2023 at the end of that season against Dallas, coincidentally enough, in a meaningless game. We were awful. We were getting our heads bashed in again. But it was so important to us as fans that Terry the one beacon of light, gets his milestone of 1,000 yards, and he got it. And I was so excited, and it's stupid. I remember I told you guys about it right after that game. As dumb as it was, I wanted it bad for him, and I wanted this record bad for him. And I'm so glad he got it. I just remember seeing Cliff Kingsbury go nuts on the sidelines when Mariota threw that touchdown pass to Terry. Like, losing his shit nuts. He was so juiced up. And that was our team, man. That was last year's team. Like, everybody was having fun. From, the coaching staff to the players to the owner, owners, Magic Johnson, the following week in the Tampa, after the Tampa game, just so many dudes, from the medical staff to the strength and conditioning staff, everybody was having a great time. So you win that game. All right, okay, fine. The regular season's over. Like, now the real, like DQ said, the second season begins. And I love how in this episode, they flash back to week one, right? DQ saying, hey, Bucks were better than us today. We'll grow from this. We'll get better, yada, yada, yada. And then they fast forward back to Jaden Daniels, and he's like, hey, it's amazing how much this team has grown. We're a different team since then, and we get to kind of measure ourselves up. And DQ would always talk about how, would this team beat the team from 3 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. Well, in this case, would this team beat the team from week 1? Of course, you're damn right they would. And then, DQ's talking about this is the start of the second season. And, we get to kind of gauge ourselves. This was the team that beat us in week 1. Let's see how far we've come. And you're hearing, Chris Sims in the background talk about, Jaden Daniels. I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago because he talked to him before the Sunday night game against Atlanta. And he said, I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. And he said the most nervous he was in week 1. I can assure you he won't be that nervous this time. And he wasn't. And then you see guys like Diami Brown stretching. And I'm like, oh, Diami, I was just talking about you today, bro. And then I flash back to week 16. They showed the deep ball he caught against Darius Slay. And Diami was in his bag in the postseason, boy. And then they just, you get a couple more passionate speeches from the guys, and then they go out there. And I had forgotten about the deep ball on the first possession of Terry. Because we didn't get any points on that possession, right? But that was a dime. God damn, that was a great catch by Terry and an even better throw by Jaden. Jeez Louise. You forget some of those things, those little nuances there, and some of those plays. Man, that Tampa game was fun, right? It's up and down, ebbs and flows. But you get the fumble, right? And then, a lot of people forget after the fumble, that's a 4th down that we go for it again. Because remember, the possession before, we went for it on 4th down and we didn't get it. And I remember at the watch party, shout out to everybody that was in attendance at the watch party. Some people were pissed off. And and I remember saying, scared money don't make money. And I was telling everybody there, like, look, I love the mindset. This is who we are, right? Can't be afraid now. And we go for it on 4th down. He hits Terry for the touchdown to give us the lead 20-17. Of course, the defense, go figure, gives it up. Tie game 2020. We get the ball back. Jaden, crazy drive, hits Diami, and they just show all of the Diami Brown plays. Of course, the touchdown, the wide receiver screen, the slant he caught, and everything that he did in that game. He was huge. It's kind of fitting that he goes to Jacksonville because you could argue that Tampa Bay game statistically wasn't his best game of his career. But if you talk about impact, number of plays made, I don't think anybody would argue that that was his best game of his career. Statistically, in 2022 against the Titans, he had, a 3-catch, 104-yard game with 2 deep ball touchdowns. That's statistically his best game. But the 6, I believe, for 84 and the touchdown, every one of those 6 catches were impactful. It was run after the catch on a few of them. He had the one where he caught it on the sideline where Jaden escapes the pocket, finds him down the sideline, runs, jukes a guy, runs over a defender before going out of bounds. He caught a wide receiver screen, cut up the field, made 2 dudes miss, got inside the 5-yard line. He was extraordinary in that game. Jaden, makes the play to Eckler, then, gets the run on the third down, avoiding Kalaja. Can't see dives for the first down. And that call by Mike Tirico never gets old because he, from 37 yards, Zey Gonzalez, you just expect him to make the kick. I had actually forgotten that, just to go back in the story a bit, Greg Joseph was our kicker for like 2 weeks. Like, he was our kicker, I want to say, in the New Orleans game. Might have just been for 1 week. Because I don't think he was our kicker against the Eagles. But he was our kicker in the New Orleans game. And he made a pretty long one in that game, too. Right? I was like, Greg Joseph? What the hell? Boy, our kicking situation was nasty last season. We got to fix that, right? But that, again, that's what these Commander Logs episodes do. It just kind of floods you with all these memories, and then it kind of jogs your memory on some things you may have forgotten. I forgot totally about Greg Joseph being our kicker. But anyway, back to the Tampa game. Tirico is setting the stage, and he's talking about all the things that we, have a chance to do with this kick if he makes it. And he's already, ready to say, and the Washington Commanders, and he's ready to send us to the divisional round. And then you hear, dong, doink their way to the divisional round. And I just get goosebumps hearing that call every time. And, I in the back of my head, I always hear DQ talking about that kick and how it was like the Bounty commercial where it spills in slow-mo. You're like, no. Because that was all of us. Because you know what made it so crazy? And I think I've told you guys this story before. Where going back to the watch party, we couldn't hear. We were so loud, right? The game was on all the TVs. The speakers were loud, but we were making so much noise because we just, again, much like Mike Tirico, we expected him to make the kick. So I'm squatting down, like with the kick ready to jump in the air. And then it hits the upright, and I drop to my knees in disbelief, like, oh my God, did he just miss this kick? Because you can't see where the ball goes. Like the trajectory of it, did it come back? Did it go sideways and fall? Did it go through the upright? We didn't know. And the only reason we knew because after the kick went through, they directly panned the shot to the sideline, and you see like Terry, going nuts and the team going nuts. And that's when I knew, oh my God, we won. And I jump up and the rest is history. It was just an amazing feeling, that win in particular. Like I told you, Jaden with the bandage under his eye, obviously got cut, and he was looking like a warrior in that game. It was crazy. And yeah, I mean, that was one of the best feelings that night. And felt like we could beat anybody after we won that game. And you were going to have to feel that way because the next week was Detroit. Now you're on the road, number 1 seed. And, I remember leading up to that game, the Lions fans disrespecting us like we were some kind of charity case. They thought they were going to get a chance at, remember the Bucs were one of the few teams that beat them during the regular season. The Lions were 15-2. There were only 2 losses the entire year. Were the Tampa Bay and the Buffalo. Excuse me. So they were pissed, and they thought they were going to get an opportunity to exact a measure of revenge against the Bucs. And we ruined that opportunity for them. So they just thought, we're going to kill you guys. You guys are ass. They didn't even know anything about us. Again, I didn't blame them for that, but Terry gave that passionate speech before that game, and I just remember thinking, it's our time, right? It's our year. Our year. And I remember doing a watch party at home this time with my son, and I thought it was so dope how they played the Terry speech before the game. And then, just to go back though, I'm skipping over stuff. Locker room celebration after the Bucks win was epic. And Bobby came in and they mobbed him, and I loved it. But I loved that they showed Doug some love, right? Doug was going back to the place where he was drafted. DQ, I don't think he was like, DQ doesn't mean to be petty, but DQ is also very petty, right? If, for instance, he does the every game captain thing, which we didn't do in the postseason. We just had captains. But during the regular season, if you were going up against your old team, you were captain that week, right? He did it for, Frankie Louie when we played Carolina. He did it for, Biotish and, Dante Fowler Jr., Dorrance Armstrong, those guys when we played Dallas. So, I think McNichols was a captain when we played Tennessee. Like, if you play, so sending Doug out there for the playoff game against Tampa meant something. And when Doug came in the locker room, they mobbed him. It was dope, man. But anyway, that Lions game was crazy. It was surreal almost, watching that. Going in there, that Dorrance, forced fumble was huge. It was massive. Down 7-3, they were driving to go make it 14-3. And there's no doubt in my mind that they were going to do exactly that. Force that fumble, turn that into a touchdown. And, they didn't show this on the Commander's Log episode, but we went for it on that fourth down. Mariota came in, and they had the perfect play call. They were going to fake the quarterback sneak. He was going to pitch it to B-Rob, and B-Rob thinks it's a tush push. And so he's running up to push Mariota. Mariota's turning around to try to toss him the ball, and we get stopped on fourth down. This is why you don't take the ball out of Jaden's hands, right? Anyway, that's why we're even in that position, because they really didn't stop us the entire night. That was one of the few times they got to stop. That, and then right after halftime, we had the ball first in the second half, and we chose to go like 3 and out for the only time that night. So that was a big, stop, that forced fumble, turn that into a touchdown. And then they go down and they score, and it's 14-10. And then before they could even enjoy that lead, Terry breaks off the long, catch and run. And we would never trail again in the game. And that's crazy to say. That I don't think we ever trailed in the game again. I could be wrong about that. I'm trying to think if it was ever 21-17. I think we ended up going up 24-14. And then they got the Jamison Williams ridiculous long touchdown run. Because Teddy Bridgewater was in the game when that happened. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure after the Terry touchdown, then Goff threw the pick six. Frankie lit him up. Bridgewater had to come in. It was 24-14. We thought we had them right when we wanted them. Then they do the double reverse. Williams scores. You hear Tom Brady, in the background saying, "This game is nuts. It's like a video game." And then Jaden took us back down the field again. That's the Diami throw right before half, which is just insane. And Diami's having another outstanding game. And I talked about this on the show earlier. I said, we're going to miss Diami's speed. We don't have another guy that can do that. And somebody in the comment section said, oh, we got Luke McCaffrey, and if I'm not mistaken, he had a similar 40 time to Diami. He's going to step up this year. And I'm like, come on, guy. Did anybody look at Luke McCaffrey last year running and say, oh, yeah, he's going to be a new vertical threat for us? Come on, man. Like, Luke McCaffrey wasn't running away from dudes at Rice. Okay? He wasn't running away from dudes at Rice. How is he going to do it in the NFL? Diami Brown was running away from dudes in college, in the ACC, against Clemson and against Florida State, and teams of that caliber that send NFL players to the league on a regular basis. He was running away from them dudes. So you knew he could run. Luke McCaffrey's not the answer to that question. Sorry. Anyway, Diami was clutching the postseason, man. Until he wasn't, obviously. But he was clutch. That's a hell of a catch. Even better throw by Jaden. And that leads us to the, I think it was the Zach Ertz touchdown. Put us up 31-21. Mikey gets his first of 2 picks right before the half, and I'm feeling good. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back to that watch party video because I want to see. I haven't watched it. I've never watched it, but I want to watch my reaction when Terry catches that. I need to watch my reaction on a lot of those plays actually because I was going nuts. And I remember the Terry play. I was like, "It's a foot race. It's a foot race. And he better not catch you. And you better win." And my son was like, "Yeah, yeah." And I remember getting up and walking off the screen like, "That's what I'm talking about. It's a foot race. And he better not catch you." And all you hear is my sitting back, "Yeah, yeah." I need to go back and watch that when I get some time. But I remember at that moment being up 10, going to halftime, thinking, "Is this real?" Right? I was like, "All right, if y'all serious, put this away right now." We get the ball after half to start. They ain't stopped us pretty much all game. Put it away. And of course we didn't do it because we don't like to do things the easy way. At least that's what I thought at the time. So, of course, we don't get, we don't score on that opening possession. We give them the ball back. And they do score. And now it's a 3-point game. And now all of a sudden, we can't stop your boy, rushing the football, which I don't know why they stopped giving it to him. But, we couldn't stop Jahmyr Gibbs. And so it's 31-28 now. It's the fourth quarter. And we've been here before. You hear Bram, and all of the calls that Bram had were awesome, And Bram's like, "If you've been here with us all season long and fourth quarter time, buckle up because you're in for a wild ride." And luckily enough for us, it wasn't another one of those type of, photo finishes. We took care of business and didn't leave it to chance. And it started with that drive to, you know, we were already driving at the end of the third, ending in a touchdown. But if I'm not mistaken, that was a drive we went for it on 4th down. And Terry caught that shallow cross, pinball off of one defender, fell down at like the 2. And then either B-Rob got in or they gave it to Jeremy McNichols. One of the 2 of those dudes got in. And we went up 38-28. And then they tried that double reverse pass bullshit. And the interception. And then we went down and scored again, put the game away. I remember being pissed off at Zey Gonzalez because we had a chance to ice the game. Like, we're up 14. The field goal makes it 17 points. You know, look, I got PTSD. I ain't gonna front. Like, you know, I don't trust the defense. Shit's never like easy for us. Strange things have happened. We would be the team that is up by, you know, a gajillion points, gives up a touchdown, they kick an onside kick, get the bitch back, score again. This game goes to overtime. We've lost in some of the most incredible ways throughout my fandom, right? Like the Saints game is the one that comes to mind in 2017. Like, just impossible you lose that game, but you do, right? So, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, like, please just make the field goal. And he misses, of course. And they drive it right down the field. But thank God Jeremy Chin picks that pass off, and we never have to figure out if we can recover an onside kick. Remember, I don't remember what game it was. I'm trying to think of the game that we were in, and it was close. And they kicked an onside kick, and the ball is just sitting there, right? And Ertz, at the last second, snatches the ball out of the air. Like, it's trickling, it's bouncing, and the team is getting closer and closer to the ball. I'm like, can somebody pick up the goddamn ball? And Ertz snatches the ball and recovers it. I can't remember. I was like, that is the worst onside recovery I've ever seen in my life. With this new format, you know, where teams rarely, you know, recover onside kick. I can't remember who we were playing. But it was way too close for comfort. I don't know who the hell it was. But all I know is I didn't want to see us in that predicament again, where we had to recover an onside kick, because we don't seem to do that very well. So I'm glad that, you know, he picks that pass off, that puts it, you know, puts the game away. And then you're just like, I cannot believe we just did that. And you hear Bram on the Commander's Log episode say, this team isn't playing with house money. This team's for real. This team is a team of destiny. It's their time. It's our time. And I don't think there was a Commanders fan who didn't believe that. That's all I talked about the next week leading up to that Eagles game was, this ain't foul money. This ain't house money. It's our time now. They got to go through us. I remember Terry saying that in the locker room in the post game. They got to go through us now. And I remember everybody having on the buffs after the game. And Terry coming in the locker room doing this, and they mobbed him, and Jaden came in the locker room, they mobbed him, and Mikey came in the locker room, they mobbed him. And it was just a great scene. And DQ said, you know, we effing heavy hitters now, right? Like, again, just re-emphasizing that. And he's like, I don't know who our next opponent is, but, you know, we'll watch who and figure out where we going next, and let's take this show on the road again. And sure enough, we thought we were going to do that. And, you know, one of the surreal things again, like watching this was, I remember I told you guys I was kirking out about over the championship wallpaper in the background, looking at, watching the interviews and just like, oh my God, we're in the NFC Championship game, and watching them talk leading up to that Eagles game was like all over again, kind of like surreal. Like I literally made my smoothie knowing that this, they had this episode, and I sat down here and I drank my smoothie and I watched this thing. And I'm getting nervous watching some of these games. Like I don't know what's about to happen. It's crazy, man. I'm watching the end of the Eagles game. I'm watching the end of the Bucks game. I'm watching, all of these games where it came down to the wire, and I'm like, yo, this is wild. Like the Falcons game, and I'm acting like I don't know what's about to happen. And then you get to the championship game, and I think that was the first time I heard that Terry speech. I don't know how I missed it, but that was the first time I heard that Terry speech. And that was a good one too. And you know why? It's probably the first time I heard it because I had a watch party and I didn't get to hear all of the stuff that was leading up to the game. And then, once you lost, it was kind of helter skelter. I needed, space for a little bit and just time to decompress at how it all kind of unfolded. And the rough part about, that final game was that we didn't give ourselves a chance, and it was the same thing that we did against the Eagles. And that's why, it sucked, because had we just had, if even with all the turnovers, if you just take away the Austin Eckler turnover, I'm telling you, we got a shot to win that game. And I know that most people don't believe that because of the final score. But we were in that exact same position. And I'm telling you, the momentum was on our side. We had scored on the last possession. We had gotten a stop, which was something that we, weren't doing, but we just got a stop. We had scored a touchdown and we were driving to score another one. The momentum was on. The score was 34-15. It was 34-15. And then we scored the touchdown. We go for two. We get it to make it 34-23. We get the stop, and we're going for more points. And I'm telling you right now, we would have scored a touchdown. We would have went for two again. I'm not sure if we would have gotten it this time. But all of a sudden now, you probably would have been able to hear a pin drop in the damn link. And the thing that they didn't want was they didn't want a close game, because they knew if it came down to our guy or their guy, our guy was the better of the two. They didn't want Jaden Daniels because of how many times we had won in those situations. They didn't want any parts of that. Their team isn't built to be in those situations. Not like ours was, because we've been through it more. We didn't give ourselves a chance. That's the frustrating part. And going back and watching that play is crazy, because we came up with that fumble. We came out of that pile with the football. That's nor here nor there. They ended this episode with, DQ and Adam Peters at the press conference. At the end of the season, those two sat down, end of the season presser, talked about, we got a lot of things accomplished this year. But the one thing we didn't have that we got in that game against Philadelphia in the championship game is the battle scars. We got those battle scars. And, they show the confetti falling down, and you saw some guys kind of dejected walking back to the locker room. And in that moment, you realize you're not getting that again, right? Again, they say in this, and it's kind of cliche in the NFL, but no two teams are the same. This isn't the 80s where there's no, there's no free agency and you can keep your teams together for, 10, 15 years at a time. Some of those dudes that were contributors, like Olamide Zaccheaus, not here. Right? Cornelius Lucas, not here. Diami Brown, it's huge in the postseason, not here. Obviously, had the big fumble in the NFC Championship game, but he's not here. Dante Fowler Jr., it was crazy because you see how many sacks he had and the celebration and the energy he brought, not here, right? But that gives an opportunity to some new guys to come in here and create new memories, right? So we'll see what happens. But that episode was everything we thought it was going to be. And then some. I'm assuming that episode 3, whenever that drops, I'm not assuming that it's going to drop next week. But it may. If it does, it'll be probably geared towards the free agency period, I would guess, when all of these new people coming into the building, and kind of stretch that one out. Then you could probably mash together episode 4 as a Senior Bowl, combine, leading up to the draft type of joint. So what'll be interesting to see is how long of a gap is it between episode 2 to episode 3? Because they could do one next week and that could be more so centered around free agency, but we still haven't even heard from Deebo Samuel yet. Of all of the guys that, we were expected to hear from, we still haven't heard from Deebo yet. So I highly doubt that they're going to put together a production, and this media team has been absolutely killing it. I highly doubt that they're going to put together a free agency commander's log, and there's no Deebo Samuel because he hasn't come to the facility yet and had a press conference, and I would have thought that would have transpired already. Clearly, he hasn't signed a new contract or anything, but he has been traded, and I'm shocked we haven't heard from him. So I doubt that they put together something without Deebo Samuel being in it. So I think it's going to be a little while before we get to episode 3. We'll see. We'll see. But boy, episodes 1 and 2 of season 4 did not miss. Did not miss. So let's get to the comment section real quick. I see we got some Eagle fans in here. How you gonna talk shit and you can't even get the score right? I tell you, the nerve of some people. Juan Gotti talking sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Juan Gotti writes, 5 minutes, I told myself, now I sit at the 17-minute mark. That's what happened to me. I forget which video. I think it was the year of Jaden or something like that video, where I was like, I had a video on that, and the video was already set. A live stream was already set for like 9:30 that night. And somebody had sent it to me, and I was like, oh, what is this? And I clicked on it, and it was like, 40 something minutes long. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't got time for this. I'll just watch the first 5 minutes or so though. And then I look up and I'm in like 22 minutes in and it's already 9:30. I'm like, oh shit, I'm late now. I might as well watch the whole goddamn thing now. I'm already late, right? So yeah, I know the struggle. I know the struggle, bro. I'm right there with you. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, it's worse losing one game from the Super Bowl to the division Yeah, it sucks. There's no way around that. That sucks. Yeah, it does. But I'd rather have gotten to that game and lost than to not gotten to that game at all, right? To know how close we were, to know that my quarterback is capable in his rookie season with not a lot of talent around him. And again, not to demean the roster that they put around him, because those guys made plays too. But to be in that position year one, I would love to change the outcome of that Eagles game, but I wouldn't change anything about the season outside of that last game we played. Because I'm a big proponent of everything happens for a reason. So, hey, speaking of which, before I get to Swaggy P, did y'all see the video of Jaden Daniels with his homeboys, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr.? I don't know if, I guess they're at like a Louie store or something. I don't know where the hell they are, what that was for. Like, who even took that video? Like, that shit was so random. Is that a part of a show? Was somebody just recording them? Is somebody doing a vlog? Like, what the hell was that about? Because we've never seen that. Well, okay, let me speak for myself. I haven't seen that raw and uncut version of Jaden. I actually rather enjoyed it. He's always buttoned up, as he should be. He's now a media figure, right? He's now a superstar. So you have to carry and conduct yourself in a certain manner. And he does a great job, but that's the first time I just saw him being Jaden, right? Where he's cussing and he's just, chilling with his homeboys and talking shit, and he was giving it to them boys. He was like, yeah, I was just spending my playoff checks. He's like, y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all ain't getting none of them shits, right? Just talking shit. Like you would be talking to your homeboys, talking shit, right? It's pretty dope. I'm still like, where did that come from? Right? Still was like, that was pretty dope. I assume there's more of that. Where do we get more of that exchange in that whole situation that they had going on there? But that was dope. Anyway, Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Neighbor, yeah. Me says neighbor said he wanted to go home. LOL. Yeah, that's wild for somebody to say that, right? That's how bad it was that first year for him in New York. He's like, yo, I just wanted to go home, bro. Yeah, right. Oh man. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Swaggy P writes, I got to experience the blowout in Arizona. The game-winning field goal versus the Giants. Washington walk-off versus the Bears. Last-second touchdown versus the Eagles. And OTTD versus Atlanta. Hopefully more memories will be created next year at North Dove Stadium. Bart Scott can't wait. So hold on, time out. Swaggy, let me get this straight. Are you telling me that you were actually live in attendance for all of those games? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying, because you said, I know you were at the one in Arizona. I remember having a conversation with you for that one. But are you telling me week 2 you were there for the Giants game when we won with 7 field goals? You were there for the Bears game, which is insane. I love the stories people tell of being at that game, because a lot of people shout out to the couple that was at the Eagles championship game. They were telling me that they were there at the Bears game. And I forget if it was them or someone else that told me they were actually leaving. They were walking out, leaving, and they heard the roar of the crowd and everybody going nuts. And that's how they realized that they did, in fact, complete the Hail Mary. But, everybody had their stories with that one. The last-second touchdown versus the Eagles and the OT touchdown versus Atlanta. You were at all of the big ones. Sheesh. If that's in fact what you're telling me, you were at all those games, that's crazy. I'm trying to think, did you miss any? Because you pretty much knocked down all of the home games that were just ridiculously close. The Giants in week 2, Browns weren't close in week 5, Panthers weren't close in week 7. You said you went to the week 8 game. Week 9, we were on the... So week 9, we were at the Giants. Week 10 was home for the Steelers. Week 11, we were on the road for the Eagles. Week 12, we were at home against Dallas. So that would be another one that you missed, the Dallas game, even though we didn't win that game. I mean, the place had to be electric during the Terry 86-yard catch and run where you thought you had a chance. I would have gone for 2. I was really disappointed because if you look at our season and how we were, the DNA makeup of who we were, the kicking the extra point there didn't match who we had been all season long. But I get it. We were the better team, and you just felt like if you make that kick, go to extra overtime, you're gonna beat them because we were the better team, and you just took their soul from them with that Terry touchdown. Now they can't rebound from that in overtime, but of course that never got to happen because Austin Seibert missed the extra point. But I digress. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes 2025 season goal, including or excluding Super Bowl, host and win a playoff game. Yes, that would mean you have won the division. So, I mean, obviously you can do that without winning the division, but it's tough. You'd have to be the 5 seed and you'd have to play the 6 seed in the championship game. That's tough to do, right? But we were 1 win away from being a 6 seed. Well, we did go to the championship game as a 6 seed, and the Rams would have been, I think the Rams were the 4 seed, and they were 1 win away from, getting another home playoff game as a 4 seed. So anything could happen. But you won. I mean, that means you won the division. So if Atlanta game felt like a playoff game, then an actual playoff game is next level. Yeah. I might actually have to leave my house for that one. I don't know. I say that, I talk a lot of shit, but I've been pretty upfront with y'all about not going to games. We get to the postseason and we're hosting a home playoff game. I may have to leave my house for that one. I don't know. We'll see. That's the kind of activity that might get me out of my house. So I don't know. We'll see again. I can't say that I will, but I can't say that I won't. I've been pretty definitive, like, nah, I'm not going to the game. Can't say that right now. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Metaphor writes, the log made me cry, Lou. I'm a man. Why? You know why? Because this shit means something to me, man. It means something to you. That's why. And shit can get to you, man. I mean, I didn't have any well-up moments watching it, but I got goosebumps a bunch of times. The closest they almost got me in episode 1, though, when Darryl Green was talking at halftime of the Panthers game. That shit got to me. They had me over here with the lump in my damn throat, eyes welling up and shit. Oh yeah, I ain't gonna front. Darryl tried to break me down. I was like, nope. I ain't even, nope. But look, hey, Darryl tried to get me. I ain't have any of those issues in episode 2, but I get it. I mean, you look at those fans, when we clinched against the Atlanta Falcons and you hear them talk about first time since 91 for this and first time since 05 for that. And, it was a magical season. It was a magic carpet ride. And, as fans, all we can hope is that that's the beginning of what is to become the norm for us. That's the hope, right? Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lang Hughes writes, 2025 Giants offseason quarterback plan used to be us. Shout out to JD5. Man, you ain't lying. 2020 That thing was. Remember 2020? That was Rivera's first year. We were talking about should they go get Cam Newton? I was like, no, I want Cam Newton. But that was all the chatter in 2020. Was where they gonna go get Cam Newton? And 2020 featured Alex Smith coming back, Kyle Allen playing some games. Taylor Heineke finished up that season, and Dwayne Haskins started it. So, 20 was nasty. 21 was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Then Heineke. Ugh. Yeah. And then 2022 was it was draft Sam Howell, but Carson Wentz, trade for Carson Wentz was 2022. Ugh. And then more Heineke Ultra for you. Ultra. Just in case you weren't done. In case you didn't get enough in 21, here was some more Heineke Ultra in 2022. Then in 2023, we turned the reins over to Sam Howell. And as crazy as it sounds now, he actually started all 17 games. They tried so hard to bench this man at the end of the season. And Jacoby Brissett was like, nah, I'm good, bro. Let Sam have it. Bless his heart, too, because he might have messed around like he tried to come back and beat the Jets. He might have messed around and won a game, effing around with Jacoby Brissett. Tried to come back and beat the Rams, tried to come back and beat the Jets. Damn you, Jacoby Brissett. Thank God for Greg Zuerlein, boy. Whew. That Giants 2025 offseason plan definitely used to be us. God, it feels good to be out of the quarterback wilderness. Never want to go back to that bitch. Red Boy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Boy writes, what do you think about the linebacker from Alabama? He will not be on the board at the time of our selection at 29. He was a guy, if you recall, I think Daniel Jeremiah's first mock draft, maybe his second iteration. He had us taking the linebacker out of Alabama. I'm gonna tell you what his name is. I got my draft book out right here in front of me. I think it's Campbell, if I'm not mistaken. I think his name is Campbell. Yeah, Jahad Campbell. Beast, dog. Can play off the ball. He's like Frankie Louvu, honestly. A much more athletically gifted version of Frankie Louvu. Can rush the quarterback, can play off the ball linebacker. He's going to be a beast. And DJ had us taking him initially. Then he blew up the combine, and so much for that shit. He'll be gone by the time 29 rolls around. Commandalorian, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Commandalorian writes, DN from BC in the first or Jordan Birch in the second? Now, here's the thing about Donovan Izoroku out of BC. He's a bit undersized, 6'2", 248. But I told y'all this, if you watch my combine coverage, I want to say the edge rushers were day number 1. And then the defensive backs were day 2. So I think it was D ends, D tackles, and linebackers day 1. And then day 2 was safeties and corners, I think. And then I told y'all that Donovan Izoroku, he had a really good 3-cone. And if you know, like I know, the 3-cone is very indicative of what a guy is capable of doing in terms of turning a corner at the NFL level. And he had a 6.94 3-cone. And I said, oh, okay. I thought he moved really well. He was one of the guys that stood out to me at the combine. I've yet to really watch his tape. But at 6'2", 248, he's intriguing. A little undersized, but he's very intriguing. Very intriguing. If he's there, I've heard good things about him. I got to watch him first. But just off the athletic, movements, and then seeing that 3-cone, if the tape matches, which I got no doubt in my mind that it's going to match, if he's there at 29, why the hell not? Why the hell not? So, Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Swaggy P writes, yes, I was live for all those games I mentioned. Almost went to the home Dallas game, but backed out last minute due to just coming back from vacation. Shit. Well, you saw all the jams in 2024. The only one that you didn't see live, and it wasn't a home game, was Cincinnati. But you saw all the jams. Week 2, week 8, week. So you saw 2, week 4, week 8, week 15, no, 16, 17. Yeah, you saw all the jams. 2, 4, 8, 16, and 17. It's a hell of a season, bro. You picked a lot of good games, too. Hell of a season. Picked a lot of good games. Anyway, I digress. Just wanted to come chop it up with you about Commander's Log episode 2 from season 4. Those first 2 episodes were just GMF. And we'll talk more about it tomorrow on Commanders Kings. Because we didn't talk about episode 1 last week. We got so wrapped up in all of the free agency stuff and all the conversations that we were having that we didn't get to circle back and talk about Commander's Log season 4, episode 1. So it kind of works out perfectly because now we've gotten episodes 1 and 2, and we can talk about both of them in full tomorrow night on the show, in addition to some more moves that have been made since the last time we spoke to each other, and kind of seeing what the team needs to do now. It'll be really interesting chopping it up with them tomorrow, because remember, the team went nuts the day after we got together on the stream. I want to say it was Thursday. Because the first day of technical free agency was Wednesday. We were live that night. And then the Commanders went crazy on Thursday when they signed all of those guys. Most of them were here the year before, but look forward to seeing what those guys have to say. So in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow. I will have a Louie T Network podcast for you during the day, and I will be with the Commanders Kings during the night. And we'll be back here on Thursday night for the Command Post Live. Big show, lots to get to. So I'll see you for that then. But until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. Till next time, you guys have a good one. Oh, got a super chat. Eddie Behringer, my guy, Eddie B. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, yo, Lou. What's up, Eddie? I know, he said, I just know it feels so good to reflect on meaningful season and not just a few hot plays that happen. So glued to this offseason. when you get that close as we did last season, it builds the anticipation. That's why I told you one of the things I am nervous about, I'm not going to front, is how do we respond to the success of last season? Like, how do we handle the success? I got no doubts that this group is different and this team is wired differently and that building is set up differently and Jaden is different. I got no doubts that it's going to be different. But I still suffer from PTSD. I ain't going to front. I ain't going to front. I still suffer from PTSD. So I'm anxious to see what do they do for an encore? Because we don't play in the AFC South. We don't get to have the benefit of being in one of the worst divisions in football. So even if, our quarterback has a step back year, we still won the division and still, won a playoff game. We don't get to the liberty of that. We got the best team in football in our division in the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you think the Cowboys are just going to lie down and be a dead carcass, you got another thing coming. And look, the Giants don't get a quarterback, they're still going to be ass. But if they get a quarterback, shit, the Giants, we can't even beat the Giants handily when their quarterback situation ain't shit. Imagine if they actually get a quarterback. So if you think this shit's going to be easy, and we got a tough schedule, we play the Chiefs, we play the Chargers, we play the Broncos, we play the Bears, we play the Vikings, we play the Lions, we play the Packers. Like, if you think this schedule is easy, you got another thing coming. So it's going to be one hell of a season, but I'm looking forward to it. I think that's why so many people have had so many things to say about the offseason, because they're locked in. For the first time in a long time, a lot of people who check out during this time of the year, who show back up as football is about to be played, even those people were locked in this offseason. So it is what it is. Anyway, I digress. Feels so good to reflect on not only a hell of a season, but the future that is so bright. That's the part that's so encouraging for me, is that this wasn't like a flash in the pan, here today, gone tomorrow. Oh, I hope we get hot with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. No, this is some sustainable shit, man. We got a chance to go on a run here. So anyway, see you guys next time. You know what it is. God bless. Good night.